Hey there, I'm Genny Perez. I'm a wife, mom, and small business owner. And although I love being all of those things, I'm at the point where I feel like there's something more to life outside of those roles. Does that sound like you? If you're in search of that extra magic, craving a dose of positivity, purpose, and real talk on being worthy, capable, and able, you're in the right place. Let's kick off this journey together, ignite that spark, radiate some positivity, and discover what makes your life and business truly shine. Ready to jump in? Let's spark some radiance together. Hello, and welcome back to the Sparking Radiance podcast. Are you guys having fun? This is fun, right? I know I am. And I just want to again thank you for being on this journey with me. Can I just start by saying that I appreciate all of your messages and comments, and like I said before, let's just see where this goes. So this episode, I was kind of up in the air as to what I wanted to talk about, but I just recently came back with my family from a vacation, and when I say vacation, I mean, if anything, it was physically, mentally, more than I anticipated. We jam-packed everything into a few days. But I want to talk about vacations and more so taking breaks, and why it's so important and the benefits of taking breaks. And you're probably thinking, wait a minute, Genny, like, why are we taking breaks? Like, isn't that counterproductive to our current culture, especially in business and mom life of like always go, 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 getting things done, having an agenda, hustle, grinding, all of that. Isn't that counter to what we need to do as business owners and as moms and as parents? And yes, it is. It can be. However, I also think that it is very important to also have. And here's why. I think a lot of times when we go and we experience breaks, it gives us the opportunity to see clearly and have clarity. And I say that because it takes us out of our everyday realm. Sometimes in our everyday round, in the grind, in the, sticking to a certain schedule, sticking to a school calendar, meeting with clients, things like that. Like we get in a kind of like we become motorized, right? It's like this happens and I do this. This happens. My next step is this. And we become immune to that environment of like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And sometimes it's predictable, right? I drop my kids off at this time. I pick them up at this time. I call this client at this time. I follow up at this time. And I think we become robotic in a sense. And what happens in that, space of being robotic is that we don't see clearly because we kind of know what to anticipate what's going to happen next. And it's just like we're on autopilot. And I think with taking breaks, and when I say breaks, I say take yourself out of your current environment. And when I say take breaks, what I mean is moving away from the mundane, moving away from what, you do it day in and day out. And my family and I, we got the opportunity to take, quite a few days to just be together, outside of our home, near a lovely beach cottage in Northern California, which I'm super grateful to have been able to experience with my children and husband. But what that allowed me to do is it allowed me to have clarity, and clarity because I wasn't confined to a schedule, because I wasn't thinking about what's coming next. Don't get me wrong. We had quite a few activities planned. However, it wasn't part of our normal day to day. I got to see my children light up with excitement, for something so simple as being able to eat breakfast outside in the patio. They thought that was the coolest, funnest, best thing that they've ever experienced. And I was able to enjoy that simple act by, again, taking a break and removing our family outside of that, normal day-to-day grind. So let me talk about the taking big breaks. And when I say big breaks, I say like taking vacations, going out of town, whether it be driving or flying, somewhere that you will normally in your day-to-day not be. And I say that because, again, taking yourself out of the environment, what is, and then that's what I would consider a big break, like actually something you have to pack a suitcase for and leave for a few days. And I think a lot of us have experienced this, whether it be in business or whether it be in, just those of us that have careers with jobs. Like anytime we come back from a vacation, like our thinking and our processes are different. And I think the reason for that is because we are able to see things that we couldn't see before being in our everyday. Countless times, for myself personally, countless times I've made major decisions right after I came back from a vacation. And, career-wise, there's been times where I've come back from vacations and I realized, what I'm doing in my day-to-day in this career is not what I want to do. This position possibly that I'm in is not the position that's best for me. I'm going to search another position within the company, or sometimes in my case, it was another company, right? But we get this clarity of like what becomes important to us. And for me personally, on this last trip that we experienced together as a family, one thing that I learned about myself is that I wasn't dreaming or thinking big enough. And when I say that is because it's like I wasn't thinking big enough because I was so busy in the day-to-day that I wasn't thinking about like, hey, how is this day-to-day helping me achieve the goals that I've had or that I've set for myself and for my business and for my family. And when you take breaks, you are able to see the bigger picture. And I will be honest, we were fortunate enough to take a few days to spend in Monterey, California, Carmel, California, Santa Cruz, California. And those are beautiful, beautiful. If you haven't visited, they are beautiful parts of the United States. Just being by your cut is a combination of being by the coast, but also being in nature. So typically when you think of being on beach life, you think of sand, you think of wide open spaces. But in this case, in this part of this demographic in the United States, it's woodsy, but beachy at the same time. They meet together. And the big picture for me in this area is it made me see all the possibilities, and I wondered, and it brought curiosity to me. There's something called the 17-mile drive in Monterey, where you're able to go through a 17-mile drive of just beautiful coastline, beautiful, magnificent, beautiful homes. And for me, not thinking big enough, what I wondered is it genuinely created a curiosity in me. It's like, what do these people do? What kind of businesses do they have? What do their day-to-day look like? How is it possible to live in this? I mean, I'm talking multi-million-dollar homes, beautiful homes on the coastline. But it piqued a curiosity in me. It made me think bigger. And just having that peace of being in that environment made me feel peaceful within myself as well, and being obviously surrounded by my family. But when taking big breaks, again, it's like we're putting on glasses or goggles to be able to see what we truly want, what we truly desire, because we're not blinded by the noise of our day to day. And it gives us clarity. not only that, it reminds us of what's important to us, right? So a lot of times when we go on these trips or these breaks, for some of us, being out of the city, being in nature, in hikes, just being or on the coast for many people, being in those environments just draws out a peace within us because we're not in that hustle and bustle life. For those of you that are in the country, it's the quite opposite. Going from a slower pace of life and going into maybe taking a break in a major city reminds you of the drive, right? Or it pulls out the drive within you, that you don't find in a smaller rural area, but it reminds you of, the ambitions and the goals and the drive that you have when you visit these major cities, because they themselves have an energy within them that you wouldn't find in a small town. So some of us it's getting away, and for some of us it's getting in as a reminder, but these breaks are so beneficial. And I think a lot of times they allow you to be present with yourself, present with your family, present without distraction. And when I talk about big breaks, again, it's you packing something up, and getting out of the environment. And I've heard this before too, where writers, people who are in the arts, like in order to break that writer's block, they take themselves out of the environment that they're currently in to be able to see and to gather vision and to get momentum and to have clarity as to where they are going to go for their next, continuing on with whatever project that they're working on. And I think for me, that's exactly what happens every time I'm outside of my environment. Thoughts that I may have been pondering, but didn't have time to think through, getting out of my environment allows me to be able to see those things that were there. They're just there. They're not fogged by the day to day. And, taking these breaks, they don't have to necessarily be something super expensive. And I'll be honest, a lot of times when taking these breaks, I have to take them with my children and my husband, and I have to think of fun family things to do, right? But for me, the simple act of going to another city and visiting an art museum, visiting any kind of museum or art or something that has history, for me, that's inspiring. Because it's reminding me of, people who had, some of these are founders where they had success, where they were the pioneers, just people who are passionate about research. It's just seeing things differently, being in environments that are different. So it doesn't necessarily have to be something extravagant. It could genuinely be, going to a museum in the next city over, or going to see art produced by somebody in the next city over. Also, too, being with animals. I think animals, there's so much to learn from animals, I think. Just going down to your local zoo and sitting and having a moment and observing gorillas. Like, to me, I learned so much. Or orangutans, or, elephants, zebras, giraffes, you name it. Just being in that beauty of animals and how they communicate, and learning about, how they adapt. It's just, again, getting yourself out of breaking from that norm of the day to day and being able to see things differently. And you might be saying, well, Genny, I don't have a lot of money to go anywhere. And that's really where I think, taking these big breaks. I also think that daily we can take small breaks. And when I say small breaks, I say, even if it's, we live in a world where it's super sedentary, where we're at our desks in front of our computers, our laptops, our phones, iPads for hours and hours at a time. But if we were to take 5 to 10 minutes every hour just to take a break, if we're in the office, taking a 5 to 10 minute break just to go walk around the building. If you're fortunate to live in an area where there's nice trails or, a nature path, taking a break and just taking a quick break of a clarity, allowing your mind to take a rest and coming back. And what I would like you to do is just remind yourself of how you feel when you come back. Your blood flow is going. Your mind is clear. Your heart rate maybe has been a little bit elevated at time, but just taking a break from what the mundane of what you're doing allows for your brain and your mind to have clarity. That's an example of like a day-to-day break, when in the office, when at work, taking a 5 to 10 minute break every hour. And for some of us, that's unrealistic depending on our profession, right? But if we consciously plan, maybe I can't do it every hour, but can I do it every couple of hours? Just to see what that impact or that break will have on your vision and have on your clarity. And not only that, have on your productivity, right? To walk away and to come back. Kind of like taking steps, how they say, take a few steps back to take quite a few steps forward. But breaks in themselves don't always have to be breaks. They're breaks that can be small breaks within the day. And I think this is important, so important, just to help with that vision and to help with that clarity. And being in business and work environments, I'm going to probably poke something that some of us are guilty of, because I know I am: eating at your desk. And here's why. This is a simple act that we can do to kind of start implementing our breaks in there. Stepping away when it's our time to eat and enjoy our food and to allow our mind to break. Step away from your desk. Step away from your environment of work, because it's so easy to get pulled back into the work while trying to enjoy your meal. But it's just getting in the simple act of stepping and walking away to find that clarity. Taking the bathroom breaks that we need to take. I know I've been guilty of this, where I'm like, one more thing. And then I get to the point where it's like I'm running every single time. But again, getting in the habit of being mindful of kind of shutting down that mundane or shutting down that robotic nature, so that we allow our creative and our inner vision to come out and again, I see this from time to time, having had jobs and working in corporate America for many, many years, but genuinely, like, instead of eating at our desks, like, go to your car, take a walk around for lunch, go to a cafeteria or be in an environment. I mean, even just, I know there were times where when I would take breaks, I'd drive to the local Starbucks and sit there for an hour. And I would sit there and eat my lunch, and I would just be in the curiosities of the conversations around me that distracted me or piqued interest in my normal day-to-day, like my normal day-to-day workflow. But just being in a different environment allowed me to disconnect from mine, but also connected me back to my vision when I would come back, and my productivity when I would come back, because I had that peace and that clarity. But again, big breaks, you're packing something up. You're getting in the car, you're jumping on the plane, you have a suitcase. I would consider that a big break. That is out of your everyday environment. You're not going home to sleep where you normally sleep. Lay your head down. A small break is our day-to-day activities that we do. Taking a walk outside, not eating lunch at our desk. Let me think of some more examples of how we can start with the day-to-day, because for some of us, it's unrealistic to stop what we're doing. Maybe our business has too many demands where we can't coordinate a big break initially, or maybe some of us, maybe financially, right? We're not in a position where we can take a break. But we can implement a daily day break. And just taking a look at the impact of what it does to your well-being, to your mind, to your productivity. And what this does, both big breaks and small breaks, is what they do is they help with your self-care. Because at the end of the day, guys, you know your bodies, you know your thoughts, you know your mind. And I'll give you a perfect example of a break for me. Ironically, with the demands of my business, my family, my break for the day actually starts in the morning. I wake up an hour before my family does, and I have a reading chair. I have a cup of coffee, and that hour is my break time. That time is my time to be in my own thoughts, whether it be reading, journaling, praying, meditating. But I take that hour to start my day, but it's my and set the precedent for my day, but it's my break in the very beginning before the dogs are up, the kids are up, the husband's up. It is my time, my break, to set the precedent for the day. And for some of us, that could be at night once the kids are down. Take that time to, read, exercise, whatever it is that you do, but take that small break for yourself. And for a lot of you, it's going to be hard. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be like, well, I don't have time for myself. I don't have time to carve out. And I'm going to counter you and I'm going to say, yes, you do. Instead of being on social media, instead of, focusing and stressing about what you're going to do the next day, take 10 minutes. Take 10 minutes for yourself. For some of us, for us moms, sometimes it's locking ourselves in the bathroom for 10 minutes. Let's be honest. If you're fortunate enough to have a bathroom with a lock, 10 minutes is all we need to reboot ourselves, whether it be to say a small prayer, whether it be to do some breathing exercises, or to read a few pages in a good book. Like, take that time. Take that time for yourself. And I say that because, again, pausing, being present, being in the moment, it allows you to have so much clarity and so much vision towards whatever it is that you're looking to achieve. Is if you are, as a mother, looking to just achieve to get through the day. And I've had those days too, where it's like, I'm just trying to make it through to get to bedtime. I'll be honest. There were a few days, especially when my children were small, where it's like, I just got to get through today to get to bedtime. That's my goal. But taking breaks in those, or as a business owner, right? Like, just taking the breaks throughout the day-to-day, stepping away from the emails, stepping away from the calls, stepping away from the work. It gives so much clarity. And going back to self-care, being aware of what your body needs, your mind needs, and getting out of the mundane of the day-to-day. So we talked about big breaks. We talked about, and that's, packing your suitcase and going out and staying out of your normal environment, whether it's the next city over, few states over, out of the country, if you're fortunate enough for that. Or there's small breaks. The second thing we talked about was the small daily breaks, getting the habit of breaking whatever it is that we're doing in work or family life. The other break I want to talk about is what I call mega breaks. And I learned this recently from a book that I read where she mentioned taking these mega breaks. And when I say mega breaks, they can be 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, up to a month breaks and a pause in whatever it is that you're doing. And why these are so important. And in some people, I think in the education world, it's also called, in the education world, it's called the sabbatical, or I've heard terms of like the gap year, where you're taking time to clarity. But the importance of having a mega break like that, having a mega break, there's quite a few benefits of it. But from a productivity standpoint, at least for me personally, having a mega break on my calendar, it is a goal. It is to be productive in my day-to-day in an effort to get to that mega break, meaning that in that mega break, I'm not working, in some cases, not working at all, or I'm working very limited. But in order for that to happen, in order for that mega break to happen, I have to work really, really hard to make it happen, to set aside that time. So it gives you something to look forward to plan, to have a goal towards. The other thing about a mega break is that you're not going to come back the same from a mega break, because you're having so much time with yourself, with your mind, with your thoughts. And I think that's also important for children, right? To experience, during summer, during these winter breaks that they have, their little minds need a break. They need to have fun. They need to do things outside of being in the classroom, being in nature, being, playing outside. And it's so important for them to experience that as well. But these mega breaks, again, give you something to strive for, to plan out, because they're going to take commitment on your part. They're going to take commitment as far as productivity. They're going to take a financial commitment, obviously. They're going to take, it's just going to give you momentum to keep going, because you have something to look forward to. And you know that you're doing that in an effort to give your mind and your body, a break. That is a mega break. And, whether you have a big break, a small break, a mega break on the calendar, just taking the time to take a break. That's all I can encourage you to do, is just start simple with a daily break. Taking, even if it's for the first half of the morning, like taking one small walk around the office if you can. And if you can't because of weather, within the office, just getting out of that daily mundane, of what we a lot of times get sucked into. I would highly encourage you to do. All right. So I couldn't let us go without some kind of activity or homework. All right. So let's break these down. So here's what I want us to do. I want us to create a big break. And when I say big break, is I want you to plan something, and commit to it. So if taking a break for some of us, it's like, I want to be in nature. I'm planning that trip. I'm booking that flight. I'm putting it on the calendar. It's a goal for me to achieve. Hey, I want to go visit family. Somewhere out. I want to go have fun. I want to be by the ocean. I want you to put something down. And it doesn't have to be, something super extravagant. It could be a one night away, and I want you to do it. It can't be greater than a year. And I say that because if we put it too far out, the likelihood of it happening is less. But the sooner you can do it, the better. And obviously, respectfully, financially, where you're at. But I say that because if we have, like, say, for example, in 3 months, planning a trip to go see the Smoky Mountains or walk through the Smoky Mountains, if I have that on the calendar, it gives me something to look forward to. It gives me something to strive for. Or for some of us, it gives us something to make happen. And I know a lot of us are goal achievers here, and it's like, financially, maybe I'm not in a position to commit to it, but in 3 months, I'm committing to that. I maybe cutting down on a coffee that I buy every day, or cutting back on certain things, but I'm going to make that happen. I need this break. It's something that I want to do, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to make it happen. So on the calendar, put a big break, whatever it is. Everybody's going to be different, right? For some of us, it's just going to Las Vegas or, Florida or wherever, and just letting our hair down, and just not worrying about anything. But, whatever it is for you, put it down on a calendar. Make it, if you could, within 3 to 6 months to have something to strive for. But if you need to financially go out a year, don't go out any more than a year, but put it down. What is it that you want to do? Where is your space where you find clarity? We all have our space. The second thing that we'll do is we're going to commit to one day break. A day break. And when I say day break, it's walking away from our desks, stretching, doing breathing exercises, short walks. And for some of us, it's just taking a music break, like taking a break, and putting on music of when we felt, what music that revives us, right? I can put in my music, and there's certain songs that just drive happiness out of me. But doing that activity of just taking that small break. And when I say do it, I say plan it. Put it on your calendar. Set an alarm for yourself and your phone if you have to, like walk time, and commit to it. Music time, commit to it. Stretch time, commit to it. That is our daily small break activity. And the mega breaks, like these are going to be things that we can possibly plan out a year to a year and a half, right? Or greater than a year, because they're going to take a bigger financial commitment, time commitment. Like think about the places, make a list of the top 5 places of where you would want to break. I have a lot of family members that, they work throughout the year to take a month at a time to visit places like Mexico and Europe and, wherever it may be, but places that it'll take you a time commitment and a financial commitment, but it's a bigger goal to where, you have something to strive for. All 3 of those types of breaks, they will give your spirit and your vision and your mind something to look forward to. It gives you that space of pausing within the mundane. And guys, myself personally, coming back as a big break, I feel more revived. I feel more clarity to continue to keep going. My body, my mind, my spirit, it needed that break. So guys, I'm so excited. I hope that you found value in this, and I encourage you to, again, take those breaks, whether as if they're small as 10 minutes, and kind of measure that impact of how you feel. So get those breaks on, get those big breaks and mega breaks planned, and continue to spark your radiance, guys. Love y'all. You hear that clap? That's me cheering you on for completing another episode. I don't know about you, but man, that was quick. If you liked what you heard, hit the subscribe button or share the episode with someone you think that might need a little spark. And help us grow by leaving a review. Remember, keep sparking that radiance from within. Until next time, shine on!